Hi guys, welcome back to Filmy Fool, and today I'm going to be talking about Arcane Season 2. Yes, I am talking about Arcane Season 2. I'm going to be talking about it for a reasonable length of time. But before all of that, guys, if you haven't, please like, share, subscribe, come back for more reviews, more views, more discussions. I've been waiting to do this for a while, and I've been waiting for Season 2 for a really long time. It's been 3 years since Arcane. I think I caught the first season actually almost a year after it was released, so I've actually not waited as long as everyone else has. You can catch the review of season 1 on my channel right here. Like I said, I in fact watched the first season late, and I went completely bonkers over the quality of animation, the quality of storytelling, just how good this show was. And the fact that I watched it late was a factor that was killing me. But better late than never, I watched it, and I've watched it again a couple of times since then in over the last 2 years, waiting for season 2. There are times when you have a feel that you're gonna love it no matter what. It was supposed to be a culmination for the Arcane series in itself, the core storyline, so I knew I was gonna love it. If you have not watched Arcane, I suggest you watch it. If you are somebody who does not appreciate animation, I would still suggest you go ahead and watch it, because the quality of animation, the kind and style of animation is very, very different from what you see either on the anime side or on the usual animated Pixar and the likes. You will not find this style and this kind of animation anywhere else. So I would suggest you give this a try. Watch the first season, watch a few episodes of the first season. I would suggest go till the start of episode 4 in season 1 and then decide whether you want to continue watching it or not. But I highly recommend that you catch both seasons. I'm going to get into what Arcane is all about. Arcane is a TV show based on a very popular MMORPG, massively multiplayer online role-playing game called League of Legends, and I haven't played the game, but I know a host of people do play that game. Show is based on characters from League of Legends. Guys, the fact of the matter is that this is based on a video game, and yet it will make you smile, it will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will make you pull your hair out for the love of the characters, for what they are going through. This is turmoil that you feel along with the characters. You feel all the angst, you feel all the agony. That is the power of the storytelling here across the 2 seasons. I know I'm kind of muddling all of this up, talking about both seasons together, but like I said, the review for the first season is already available on my channel, so I'm going to stick to season 2. Before I start talking about season 2, I just want to say Arcane season 1 is possibly the most perfect season of a TV show that I have ever seen. It is, I cannot fault it no matter what. There is absolutely nothing wrong in my book in Arcane season 1, but there are a few things that I was not happy with in season 2. I'm gonna get into those, but first of all, let me just say that I love season 2. In spite of the fact that I wasn't happy about few things, there is enough and more and then some more to love and cherish in Arcane season 2. I'm gonna get into that now. Most of the incredible voice cast team is back, leading with Haley Steinfeld voicing Vi and Ella Purnell voicing Jinx. Those are the 2 people who are right at the forefront once again. But the importance of other characters does not diminish. That is the power of Arcane. But to just give context to people who may not have seen Arcane, guys, this is a show which is based on a video game, right? But has 2 lead badass female characters, 3 badass support female characters, and then you have a bunch of male characters. So the majority of storyline, the majority of character development, and the majority of experiences that you get as audiences is through female characters. That's a benchmark for the number of good female characters here and the number of good lead female characters here. They are not supporting, they are leading this from the forefront, right? This is a substantial change from most of the things that you would watch. On top of that, you've got a very obvious and a very beautifully portrayed queer love in this case. And it is done so tastefully that you would tip your hat off if you're not the kind who would be uncomfortable with this. But I think it's done really beautifully, very, very tastefully. So I really like that romance between Vi and Caitlyn. I thought that was fabulously done. There were sparks in season 1. It doesn't really go through with it, but it is very, very obvious what they are trying to portray. And in season 2, it does get through, and they do have moments together which are very, very nice and beautifully done. So you've got badass female characters, queer love. Then you have a badass female villain as well. A psychotic villain right from season 1, again in season 2. What a character. What a memorable character. She's gonna go down as one of the most iconic characters, one of the most iconic villains in history. Absolutely. So, with all of this female character driven storyline, Arcane Season 2 really pushes Bechdel test out into the water. It really has no standing here, while Bechdel test only requires one moment or one occurrence of fulfilling those conditions. For all of those who do not know, Bechdel test is based on Alison Bechdel, the cartoonist who created 3 rules to make it obvious the bias against women in literature as well as any form of writing and entertainment. Bechdel test has 3 rules. Rule number 1 is that you need to have 2 named female characters. Rule number 2 is that they should be talking to each other at least once during the entire course of whatever we are trying to tell, whether it's a book, a form of literature, a piece of TV series or movie, whatever it is. They need to talk to each other at least once, those 2 female characters. And condition number 3 is that those 2 female characters that have one conversation should not be having that conversation about a man. So, yes, and you would, if you Google it, you would find it very surprising how many fabulous pieces of cinema, fabulous pieces across TV series miss passing the Bechdel test. It is actually alarming that they don't. And yes, Arcane passes it with flying colors. Like I said, it just needs one instance of this to happen, but there are countless of them. So Bechdel test doesn't really hold true, but it's worth mentioning how far we've come with a show like Arcane. On to the most fascinating, the most fabulous, the most eye-popping aspect of Arcane Season 2. It is the level of animation. Guys, Arcane Season 1 animation was above and beyond whatever we had seen. It was different. It was, the level of finesse was very high, and the maturity of animation was very high. Very strong animation, very strong understanding of world building along with animation. But Season 2 just takes it above and beyond in every sense of that word. If Arcane Season 1 animation was something which was a benchmark for the next year of animated things to come, Arcane Season 2 is gonna be a benchmark for the next 2 to 3 years of animation based shows and movies to come, because it is that far out from everybody else. It has left everybody else behind by a mile and then some. The level of animation continues to be just so rich and so invigorating that it is really eye-popping. Almost literally, you are trying to gauge and comprehend all the beauty that you see in every frame. There are usage of mixed media animation and mixed media art. From one form to another, you move from high quality animation to an effect of almost washed watercolors coming in. Then you've got pencil sketches coming in, and all of these are depicted and used very thoughtfully. They are not used sporadically or every now and then just to shock and awe. No, these are used with emotional sensibilities. That's the strongest part of the animations, and the choice of colors, the choice of color palette right throughout. That the color palette that you see, the characters that you see, animation is based on their psyche, their mindset, what's going on in their mind, as well as the emotions that all of these characters are feeling. So whether it's the color, whether it's the style of animation, it keeps changing and moving and merging from one to the other so beautifully. There are so many times when I've seen a character against a backdrop, and that backdrop is purposely unfinished. The entire sequence of waking up, is that a spoiler? That is a spoiler, right? I'm gonna cut this out. To stay away from spoilers, I'm not going to take obvious names. So the entire sequence of the wolf waking up, that is shown through the eyes of the wolf, and he's smelling the blood. That entire piece is almost flowing watercolors, almost like you wash watercolors away in water, and how the water gets colored with the colors. And that's the effect that they have used there. There is the entire sequence of Caitlyn's mother after the attack, and that entire emotional chunk is a mix of beautiful sketches mixed with stop motion animation almost. So that's the effect that you get. It is breathtaking. I have no words to describe that. I'm not really good at art myself, so I'm not going to be technically sound anyway in talking about all of this, but it is visually stunning. It is visually mesmerizing. That is very obvious. And you know that you're watching something special. If I start counting the breathtaking frames or breathtaking scenes in terms of animation, there are literally countless, because almost everything that you see on screen is a thing of beauty. So let's just establish this fact that Arcane Season 2 sets a benchmark that's not going to be met for the next couple of years by anybody. You really have to throw a lot of money to be able to outdo this. And I doubt that anybody apart from Netflix is going to throw that kind of money. Even for Netflix, I'm just surprised at what they've done with this. It is... Now on to the action sequences. These were beautiful. These were, again, so exhilarating the first time around as well in Arcane Season 1, and they continue to be that. There are slightly fewer than what I would have liked. I would have liked the fight sequences to be a lot more, and I'm going to get to what should have been a lot more and what should have been a lot less. But overall, in terms of action sequences, whatever action sequences are there, there are a good number of them and some iconic action sequences for sure. There is Jinx and Vi, there is Caitlyn and Vi, there is the Wolf and Vi and Jinx. All of that sequence is fantastic. Towards the start of the season, there is a fight sequence between Jinx and the mafia mob head who's like a mouse. I forgot the name. Splendid. It's an alley action sequence, fabulously choreographed. The choice of animation, the choice of colors, just the way that entire sequence is choreographed is a thing of beauty. Towards the end, Echo's entry is hallmark whistle worthy. If I was in a cinema hall, I would be standing and clapping. I really felt like doing that here, but I'm going to talk about the emotional quotient, which is extremely high and extremely hard hitting. And because of that, I wasn't able to hoot and root for Echo the way I would have liked to otherwise. Because I was really down in the dumps, as they say, on my emotions at that point of time, that I couldn't really gather or muster the courage and muster the energy to root for him. On to the emotional aspect of Arcane Season 2. Guys, it's not going to be an easy one. Let me not pull any punches here and talk about it from some other angle. It's going to be a difficult watch. If you're invested emotionally into Arcane Season 1, this is going to be that much more difficult to digest, because in your heart of hearts, all of you know something's going to give, right? And it does. So, and there is more that goes on and more that you lose. It is beautiful. At the same time, it is gut-wrenching and extremely difficult to swallow. The emotions are high right from the beginning of the season, when you'll see Vi and Caitlyn, then you see Vi and Jinx. So emotions are very, very high. Also Mel and her mom, that is also a different sort of an emotion. I wouldn't say they are typically emotional mother and daughter, and it's a very strange sort of a relationship, but you can see the tension between them. It's very obvious. Then you move on to a new character being introduced. Again, for the want of spoilers, I'm not getting into it, but Jinx finds somebody on the road and then she gets emotionally invested in this new character. Similarly, Vi, being the way she is in her character arc, is difficult to watch. And then the entire... Okay, no spoilers, right? Not going to get into it anymore. There are some beautiful moments in this season, none more beautiful than the time gone by or the moments that could have been. That entire section, that entire sequence, the dance is unbelievable, and that writing is so beautiful that it just... I mean, if the writing wasn't beautiful, you won't become emotional. And I've already spoken about the highly emotional aspect of this entire season and both seasons. Another big highlight of Season 2, and another aspect in which Season 2 surpasses Season 1, apart from the animation, is the OST, the background score, the overall music. It is one of the finest albums that you will find. Every moment that a piece comes on is a thing of beauty. Every moment that you find a song there is contextual, is beautiful. It lifts the overall experience of watching Arcane. And you cannot ask for anything more from background scores. And the fact is, you are getting more, because each of these pieces is almost a fully fledged song that you can listen to again and again and again. OST is already available on Apple Music and every other app. So I've been listening to that since last night, and I've been crying my eyes out, remembering everything else that was going on in the season. And yes, that's why I said it's emotional, because if you're attached, if you're emotional, there are going to be tears to shed. Plenty of them. From all the things that I loved to all the things that I had a problem with. There are not that many. I obviously loved far too many things in Arcane Season 2, just like Arcane Season 1. But unlike Season 1, I did have major issues with the writing and the overall screenplay and structure of the season. I know a lot of people will feel that there is no denying this fact. While creators can deny it all they want, it is a rushed season. The amount of story there is to be told, the amount of subplots that you had to include, and the amount of characters that you wanted to build on, the second season is just not enough to do all of that. So 2 seasons were not enough. If you really wanted to go with the pace similar to season 1, you really needed another season. So half of season 2 could actually be stretched to the entire season, and then the second half, almost the last 3 to 4 episodes, the story that we are telling in those 4 episodes can actually stretch for the entire season, because there is just so much happening there, and it feels so overpowering and so rushed at moments that you are not able to comprehend some of the things. Sometimes you're wanting more answers, sometimes you're wanting deeper explanations for certain things, and you just don't get them. And my biggest problem with all of this was some bit of convenience that comes into the character arcs, because you have to untangle certain knots, and hence they get untangled very conveniently. So my biggest problem at any point of time with character writing is going to be that you can't automatically do things which are convenient. There needs to be a basis for it. In this case with Jinx, my point here is that a character like Jinx, or any other character for that matter, who is not really balanced, who's skewed, right? We're talking of extreme characters here. So any extreme character, for them to start feeling suddenly differently from how they have been behaving in the past, there has to be an episode that shakes their core, right? That shakes their anchor and they can't center. Here, if you are wanting to move away, you either need a key event which shakes you up to the core, or you need a gradual movement. In this case, there was neither. And eventually, over the course of a scene and a half almost, you see a shift in character, in the way she is behaving, in the way she is conducting herself. It was a problem for me. I just could not handle that. I know that the reason for doing that was because this Jinx was supposed to behave in a certain way towards the later half of the series and towards other characters by the end of it. And hence you had to do this, but you didn't have enough time to do that, to establish that change. And hence it feels slightly sudden, slightly convenient. And that's my biggest problem with the season. And yes, the overall screenplay, overall writing towards the last 3 episodes is just so rushed. You know there is going to be a war, and suddenly we are pushed to a point where the war is about to end. There is no start to it. You suddenly have a war which is more than halfway done. And I would have loved to see the start of that war. I would have loved to see strategies being made. Yeah, that's my second biggest problem with the show. But barring that, Arcane season 2 is fabulous, is breathtaking, is one of the finest things that I've seen, and I will go back to watching it again, even though I've had this problem with it. But I believe that the second viewing is going to be better, because I'm going to be watching it without the baggage of the narrative unfolding for the first time. So it's going to be a better viewing second time around for sure. And that's how good this is. Once is not enough to watch this show. Whether it's season 1, whether it's season 2, it requires, it compels, it needs multiple viewings. It will be a disservice to the creators of the show, to everyone associated with the show, if you don't watch it more than once. Highly recommend season 2 of Arcane. If you've seen season 1, there is no question that you would have already seen season 2. If you haven't, please go ahead and watch it. If you are looking for a new show, guys, Arcane is the thing to watch. And I am really envious of you if you haven't seen Arcane, because you get to experience it for the first time. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be mind-blowing. And I can bet you're going to be fixated on this fact that how had you not seen this beauty till now? This is Arcane 2. This is my take on it. Let me know what you thought of it. Keep watching Filmy Fool. I'm going to be back with something else that I loved or hated. I'm going to be sharing that with you as always. So stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe.